All right, Deep Thread Sports Network. Welcome back to the NFL podcast. We're reviewing what happened last week in week four and moving on to week five. We'll go through the week five picks this week. Also, review our week four picks from last week. Before we get into it, it's me, Bryant, your host this week. And then we have Austin on the show as well. Logan couldn't be with us today, but he still gave his input and gave his picks for every game. So we'll go over those when we get to them. But Austin, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It was some pretty good games last week. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of surprises. My picks, I had some pretty good ones, had some not so good ones, but that's just kind of how it goes. I ended up going 10-6 on the week. Not too terribly disappointed in that. There was a lot of coin flip games that kind of just went the other way than I thought it would go. But yeah, 10-6, I'll definitely take that in a lot of games that went 50-50. So.
Yeah, 10-6 is not bad at all. Logan also went 10-6. You guys are right there next to each other. I know we had a lot of the same game picks. It seems like the ones that I didn't pick with you guys hit because I went
Yeah.
14-2, which is crazy. Like I just texted you guys earlier, I should have did that in my actual survivor pool because I was basically the opposite this week. So I should have followed my gut from the show and not the gut when I was on the app picking all the teams. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it was
how
pretty
about your
impressive.
survivor pick?
Yeah, I went 49ers at home against Patriots. They did exactly what I thought they were going to do. They started to get the ball rolling a little bit. You can see that with Debo and Kittle back that when all of those weapons are getting healthy and Shanahan's scheming them real well, that they just play a lot better. It looked like the defense got going as well as they scored a defensive touchdown. So I think the 49ers are starting to get on a roll and pretty solid pick there.
Yeah, I had the same pick with 49ers. It was pretty easy. I thought, they were playing the Patriots. I think the Patriots overperformed the first few weeks of the season, but I felt that was an easy pick. Looking at this team, Jordan Mason really hasn't been a setback at all from Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion. So that was a pretty easy pick, when we got the dub. Logan went with a little more of a riskier pick with the Cowboys on Thursday night last week, but he ended up with the W as well. That game was a lot tighter than I thought it would have been, but Malik Neighbors and the Giants offense are playing pretty good right now, but the Cowboys were able to hold out a win on that one. So we all got three W's on the survivor pool. So overall, I thought we did pretty good in our picks from last week, and let's keep it rolling into week five. What do you think? All right, since we went over our picks from last week, we're going to go over a couple games, one game per person that kind of surprised us or maybe let us down from week four. I'll go ahead and let Austin go first.
Yeah, I kind of thought that honestly, the Ravens over the Bills, not so much the fact that the Ravens won. I picked the Ravens to win against the Bills, but kind of just like in how the fashion that they did it, especially with the week prior, the Bills just looked so dominant over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Allen looked like he couldn't be stopped, and then they go in and play the Ravens, and I believe the final score was 35-10 Ravens. Ravens just ran all over them. Bills looked like they didn't really have a chance, couldn't get any rhythm going on offense. So I would just say it was more surprising on the fashion that the Ravens won and how the Bills couldn't look how they have in the previous weeks.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Ravens just ran all over the Bills. I mean, they could not stop them at all. We knew the Bills didn't have a very good rush defense, but Derrick Henry looked like Derrick Henry of 2020. I mean, he was just running all over the field. Everybody was blocking well, and it was just complete dominant performance. I agree with you. My pick for the week was Commanders. I knew they would probably maybe win this game, but they absolutely dominated the game on the road in Arizona. Um, Jaden Daniels had almost 300 yards of total offense just himself with passing and rushing. They were running the ball. Defense was flying all over the field, and they completely shut down the Arizona Cardinals offense after that first drive. Complete dominant win. Jaden Daniels is looking like rookie of the year as it sits right now in the NFC. So we'll see how they go with the rest of the season. But that was a bit of a surprise with how dominant of a win that was.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels looks absolutely legit, and that offense with him just is super explosive. I agree a lot of that. I picked the Cardinals in that game last week. I could see it being a coin flip, but the way that they came out and just handed it to him was very surprising to me as well.
Yeah, definitely. I saw a poll yesterday afternoon that said if you could redraft this rookie class from now rather than when they did it in April, who the number one pick would be, and it was like 95% Jaden Daniels. So
Really.
I think the Bears are kicking themselves. They think they may have picked the wrong quarterback at this point in the season, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. A lot of time left to go in the season, and then you still got to give it a couple of years. I think Jaden Daniels might be maybe not in a better offense weapon wise, but I think better coaching and scheming wise for offense, which could make a huge difference. So we'll see how it goes a couple of years down the line.
Absolutely. All right, so everyone, we're going to move into our week five picks after we went over our week four picks and a few games that surprised us. First thing I want to mention is the teams that are on bye week this week. We got the Titans, the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Lions. Just wanted to mention that to you guys so you're aware of it that those teams aren't playing this week. So we'll have a few less games this week rather than a full slate like we've had the first 4 weeks of the season. I think a bye week is coming at a good time for a few of these teams. Help them shore up what they've been lacking and help them build on what they've been doing well and also help with injuries, an extra week off to help people recover and get back on the field. That being said, we're going to move into our week five games. The first one of the slate is Buccaneers at Falcons. This is on Thursday, the Thursday night game, 7:15. It's on Amazon Prime, and as it sits right now, the Falcons are 1.5 point favorites. So, Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this will be a really good divisional NFC South game. Buccaneers had looked really good last week as well as they did the first 2 weeks. And then they kind of hit a roadblock against the Broncos. Baker Mayfield last week against the Eagles went 30 of 47 with 350 yards, three total touchdowns. Their defense looked really solid. But I think they're going to kind of be up and down all season, kind of like we've already seen to start the season. I think the Falcons didn't look the best last week against the Saints, but like I said last week, give them time. They're gonna figure it out with these new additions that they have. Kirk's gonna get healthier and healthier every week. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the Falcons here as they're playing at home. I just think road divisional games for Buccaneers or really for anyone is just a tough game. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the Falcons at home here.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely think I'm going to pick the Falcons in this week just for a few reasons. I think they got back to their stride a little bit last week against a good Saints team. They're not doing so well on offense. I don't think they're not running the ball as well with Bijan and Algier, and that's helping them or that's stopping them from being able to do the play action pass in the passing game, which their offense is predicated on. So I think they get back in their stride this week. I do think they beat a good Buccaneers team at home. Kirk Cousins always plays good in primetime game, so I'm going to go with the Falcons. I do think the Buccaneers keep this game close. They had a really good game last week. Got back in their stride that they had the first 2 weeks, like you mentioned. But I do think Falconeers are the Falconeers. The Falcons come back and win this game at home on Thursday. After Austin and I pick each one of these games, I'm just going to mention who Logan picked since he's not on the show this week, but he did send who he wanted to pick for each game. So I'm going to do that now, and I will after every game. So he had the Buccaneers on this one as well. So he went against us, Austin. We'll see how it plays out at the end of the week.
We'll see.
All righty. The next game, first game on Sunday, is actually in London. So everybody set your alarms and wake up early. This game is at 8:30 Central on NFL Network. As it sits right now, the Vikings are 2.5 point favorites in London against the New York Jets.
Yeah, so for this game, I think the international games are super cool. Gets people around the world involved in the NFL, which is super cool. But I think it sucks for the teams like the Vikings here, where this is considered a home game for them, when it's really just a neutral site. I think that this is going to be kind of a come down to earth game for Sam Darnold. They've looked absolutely insane the first 4 games, but on a neutral site playing against a really good Jets defense, I think Sam Darnold will kind of come down to earth. I still think he's going to be playing good, but not out of his mind as he has played the first 4 games. Jets haven't really looked great this year yet. They just had a bad loss against the Broncos. But I'm still going to believe in Aaron Rodgers and the explosive parts of that offense, such as Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. I think as the season goes on, Rodgers will start to get healthier and healthier and build a better connection with those players. And I think we'll start to kind of see that in this game. I think they'll have a big bounce back and explosive game here. So I'm gonna go with the Jets upsetting the Vikings in this one.
Yeah, I'm right along with you. You basically took the words out of my mouth. Back to the London game, I agree with you. It kind of sucks for these teams, especially having to travel, a quarter way across the world just to play a football game. And also Minnesota loses a home game where they would normally have it up there in Minneapolis. But it is also very cool, like you mentioned. It's cool seeing all the fans in the stadium wearing all 32 team jerseys and nobody's really rooting for anybody. They're just cheering for both teams. That's kind of cool to see. But anyway, I agree with you. I do think this game being in London hurts the Vikings. Not just the fact they lose a home game, but the fact that I think they're gonna struggle. They're gonna come back to earth a little bit. I think the maybe a little jet lag per se. But I agree with you. The Jets did not look very good last week. They lost the game at home against the Broncos. Did not look good. Brees Hall only had like 30 yards of offense. But I just have a feeling they're going to get back in their stride. I think this is probably the best defense that the Vikings have seen this season. So I think they're going to lean on the defense a little bit. I do think it's going to be a low scoring game, but I do think the Jets are going to come out on top in the end. Probably like a 17-14 type game. But anyway, on this game, Logan had the Vikings. So the first two games we've gone against him. So we'll see where this goes from here.
Let's keep it going for us.
Yeah. Our next game is Panthers at Bears on Sunday at noon. This is on Fox, and as it sits right now, the Bears are 4-point favorites. Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Chicago Bears in this one, largely in part because they're at home. This is another team a lot like the Falcons, where I think it's gonna take time to kind of get the wheels on the tracks and get going for this offense. Caleb didn't really look great. He didn't do anything special last week. He was 17 of 23, 157 yards and a touchdown. But he didn't turn the ball over. He did what he had to do in order to get a win last week. And like I was saying, I think as more as the season goes on, they'll start to figure that offense out a little bit more. They got DeAndre Swift involved pretty heavily last week. I believe he had like 7 catches around like 90 rushing yards. So I think the whole offense will just start to click a little more as the season goes. Panthers put up a decent fight against the Bengals. I think that was a little bit closer than most people thought. The offense has a little bit more of a spark with Andy Dalton in it, but I just think it's going to be tough for them to win on the road here in Chicago. So I'm just going to go with the Bears here.
I'm actually going to go against you on this one. I'm going to pick the Panthers for a couple of reasons. Like you mentioned, I think Andy Dalton has jump-started this offense. They're getting the passing game involved now. Finally, Chuba Hubbard has been a workhorse on the ground the past two games. They're getting the rookie Xavier Legette involved. Deontay Johnson looks good. And actually, I think the Bears really their only thing on offense they have going right now is the run game and then the dump offs to the running backs. And the Panthers have actually defended that really well this season. So I think they go actually get this done on the road in Chicago. I think that'll be kind of a shock to people picking the Panthers, but I just have a gut feeling they're going to come out and win this game. I think it will be close, but I think they're going to go ahead and pull it out on Sunday. And looking at what Logan sent us, he also has the Panthers. So we went against you on this one, Austin, but we'll see how it goes. I think this game could definitely go both ways.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Andy Dalton definitely provides a spark for them, the Red Rifle.
Yep,
Um, but we'll just have to see how that one goes.
absolutely. The next one is a fun one. We got the Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals also at noon on Sunday on CBS. As it sits right now, Baltimore is a 2.5 point favorite on the road against Cincinnati. Austin, who you got?
Yeah, I think this one's a super tough one to pick. NFC, or excuse me, AFC North division rivals. I know both these teams do not like each other. The Ravens look like they haven't figured out though. They're pounding the rock the last 2 weeks. They're not making Lamar do too much. And he's being very efficient when he does have to do things. They're dominating the run game. They're dominating the line of scrimmage. They had 271 total rushing yards last week. Derrick Henry had 199 of them. So they're just completely dominating up front. But I do think this Bengals offense is starting to heat up. They're starting to click. They're starting to work off that rust that they kind of had just due to the off-season drama. I
Mhm.
think since this game is at home for the Cincinnati Bengals, that they might jump out to an early lead here. And I think since the Ravens have been relying on the run so much recently that they're going to struggle to play catch up. So I'm actually going to pick a surprising upset in this one and go Cincinnati Bengals over the Ravens.
Interesting. Well, actually, Logan had the Bengals too, so that seems like a pretty good pick. But I'm going to go against you guys. I'm going to go with the Ravens, and I strictly picking strictly picking them because of defense. The Bengals, I don't think have a defense. They've given up so many points to even the teams as bad as the Panthers. So I'm going to go with the Ravens. They're getting rolling on offense. I really actually do think they're one of the better teams in the NFL, even though they're 2-2. I don't know how the Raiders beat them a couple weeks ago. Anyway, they're getting the ball rolling on offense, like you said, with the rushing game, and they don't only have to pass, but we do know Lamar and Zay Flowers and Bateman could get it going in the passing game if they need to. So I think they keep rolling in this game. I'm going to pick the Ravens, even though this is a tough matchup on the road, AFC North, and these games are always close. But I'm going to roll with the Ravens on this one. All righty. Our next game is going to be probably an absolute snooze fest. It's Dolphins at the Patriots Sunday at noon on Fox. As it sits right now, New England is a 1.5 favorite. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think it's a lot like what you said, a complete snooze fest. Um, this game is going to be so ugly. I don't even know if I want to watch parts of this on Red Zone, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Dolphins are just completely out of it without Tua, and I think that's largely in part that they can't use their misdirection and motion without Tua because he knows how to operate that offense so well. And I think that's what Mike McDaniel and their offense kind of relies on is using the misdirection, pre-step motion, getting the defense kind of all scattered out, and then picking them apart with their weapons. And they just can't do that without Tua. Um, so I'm going to go with the Patriots here. I know they're not a very good team all around. They have a solid defense here, which I think will help since the Dolphins have shown that they haven't been able to really do anything without Tua there. I can see Ramondre Stevenson getting it going a little bit on the ground here against the Dolphins. I just don't think the Patriots can't turn it over in this one, and they'll end up pulling out a win. So I'm gonna go with the Patriots in this one.
Interesting. Logan picked the Dolphins, and I think I'm going to go with him too. That feels horrible to say with how they performed the past 2 weeks, especially last night. I mean, they're just not good, like you said. They're predicated on the zone run, getting Achan in some space and letting him use his speed to get through the holes. But now they're without the motion, without Tua running the offense. They just can't do that. And Achan is not a run up the middle type running back, and neither is Jalen Wright, their backup right now either. But I'm just going to lean on the fact that they have more weapons than the Patriots. Patriots really don't have a whole lot besides Ramondre. Um, I think the over under this game is like 34 points, so it's gonna be a snooze fest, like you said. I doubt Red Zone shows this game much at all, but I'm just gonna go off the hip here and pick the Dolphins. As weird as it is to say that, but we'll see. All right, the next game we got on the slate here is also at noon on Sunday on Fox. It's the Browns at the Washington Commanders. As it sits right now, the Commanders are 3-point favorites at home.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really expected the Commanders to look like they have this
Mm-hmm.
season. I mean, they just look as explosive as any team in the NFL. Jaden Daniels looks as good as any quarterback in the NFL. Not even just rookies. I think he's looked as good as anyone in the NFL, and I think he's the real deal. I know the Commanders' offense, or excuse me, I know their defense isn't nothing special, but I don't really think that's going to matter just due to the fact that the Browns' offense has been so sluggish to start the season. I don't think they can get anything going, and that hurts their defense a lot just because then their defense isn't going to be able to rest and stay off the field. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Commanders here. I think Jaden Daniels in that offense is just going to be too much for the Browns.
Yeah, Logan picked the Commanders, and I'm gonna go with you guys as well. I'm gonna pick the Commanders. The Browns have been really struggling on an offense. They've not been sustaining drives. Deshaun Watson has been running for his life in the backfield. And when he does have time, he's just not making the throws that he needs to. The running game with Jerome Ford has been okay, but not nothing you can really lean on, and that's forcing the defense to be on the field a lot, like you said, and they're beat up. Personally, I don't think this game's close. I think Commanders win this game, easily. All the weapons they have on offense. Brian Robinson has been really good this season. He's been actually one of the better running backs in the NFL. Jaden Daniels is an absolute weapon with running and actually passing. Terry McLaurin's getting involved. Zach Ertz is getting involved. They have so many weapons on offense that we didn't really think they'd have. And I think Commanders roll in this game on Sunday. All right, we got two more games on the slate here at noon on Sunday. The second to last one we have here is Colts at Jaguars. Like I said, Sunday at noon. This one's on CBS, and Jacksonville is a 3-point favorite at home.
Yeah, I seen that the Jags were a 3-point favorite here. What do you think about that? I think that might be a little bit surprising to some people for the fact that they're 0-4 to start.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's probably got a little thing to do with Anthony Richardson's health. Um, Joe Flacco, hasn't really been in this team very long, but he did come in and play well. But Vegas seems to always bet against backup quarterbacks, so I think that's why it's at -3. What do you think?
Yeah. So in this one, I think it's going to be a very, very good game. It might be ugly, but I think it'll be close. Good in it, our AFC South divisional matchup here. The Jags have looked terrible to start the season. Their offense can't get anything going, it seems, and their defense definitely isn't helping them out as well. I do think that the Jags are a little bit better than maybe what they have started. I know they had high aspirations coming into the season, and they haven't started nearly as the way they wanted to. But like I said, I think they are a little bit better than maybe the record shows. I think this is a good game for them to kind of start to get things going. I think maybe they'll start getting ETN going and letting him be a focal point in the offense. But bottom line is Trevor Lawrence has to be better if this team wants to win. I'm going to go ahead and take the Jags in this one. I think Colts, like I've said in the last couple segments, are just such a hit or miss team. They can look like one of the best and most explosive teams in the league one week and then come out and throw up a dud the next week. Um, I think it's going to be a tough road environment for the Colts, so I'm going to go ahead and take the Jags here.
Yep. I mean, all your points are valid. I definitely agree with what you're saying, but I'm actually going to go with the Colts. I don't know what it is, but it seems like every time Joe Flacco hits the field in the past few years, he just provides a spark for no reason. Um, Anthony Richardson really was not playing that good, um, even when he was healthy. And Joe Flacco kind of came in, and they actually beat a good Steelers team last week. So I'm going to go with them. There is a little bit of injury concerns, like we mentioned. Anthony Richardson may not play. Um, he left the game early in the first quarter and then didn't come back. And also Jonathan Taylor is pretty banged up, so he may not be available as well. So that's of some concern. But I'm going to go with the Colts. I do think the Jaguars played better last week. They got Christian Kirk involved, kept Brian Thomas involved, and they kind of had a two-headed running attack with Tank Bigsby and Trevor Etienne. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to go with the Colts, and actually Logan picked the Colts as well. So we'll see what happens. I do think this is going to be a pretty good game, even though this is some pretty bad teams. But we'll see what happens. All right, the last game on Sunday at noon is a pretty exciting one. Bills at Texans. This one's on CBS, and as it sits right now, Houston is a 1.5-point favorite at home. Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this game will be just a super fun game to watch. You're gonna have stars everywhere, all over the field. Texans are loaded. You got triple-headed monster at wide receiver court for them with Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell. Then you got Joe Mixon if he's healthy back there in the backfield with CJ Stroud spreading the ball out everywhere, stars everywhere. Then on the other side, you got Josh Allen who can literally do everything. So I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch. I do think that the Texans will just have too many weapons for the Bills defensive backs to guard though in this one. I think they'll spread them out and CJ Stroud will play a very efficient game here and not turn the ball over. I think it'll be a little too much for the Bills defensive backs to guard. I think Josh Allen's going to do absolutely everything he can in this one to get a win out here against a really good Texans team. But I think he's going to come up just a little bit short in this one, maybe lose by a field goal or so.
All right, so Austin's rolling with the Texans. Actually picked the Bills, but I'm going to roll with Austin with the Texans. Like you said, they have so many weapons on offense. Nico Collins is an animal. I think they get Mixon back this week as well as probably Tank Dell. So that's just, those are three or four guys that are absolutely just lights out. And Stephon Diggs also has been playing great. Houston's defense has not been playing the best, and the Bills' defense has been. But like you said, I think the Texans' offense is just going to be too much for the Bills' defense. Josh Allen can keep any team in any game. But like you mentioned, I think they come out on top, or the Texans come out on top here at home. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a shootout. But like you said, and what I said, I think I'm going to go with the Texans.
Yeah, should be a good one to watch.
Next game of the week is on Sunday. We have four afternoon games on Sunday, and this is the first one we're going to go over. It's the Raiders at the Broncos in Denver. This one's on Fox, and as it sits right now, Denver is a 3-point favorite at home. Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the Broncos are coming off a huge win against the Jets last week. Their defense played really good, holding Aaron Rodgers and that Jets offense to just 9 points. They didn't score a touchdown, but their offense is struggling heavily. They really need to figure it out if they want to get something out of the season. They really need to develop Bo Nix as well. The Raiders just came off a big win against the Browns. But I just don't think the Raiders are going to be consistent enough on the road here. I think I'm going to go ahead and pick Broncos here on this one.
Valid points, valid points. But I'm gonna go with my good team, the team I root for, the
Yeah.
Raiders, and Logan is as well. We did have a little controversy come out today with the Devontae Adams trade rumors. I don't know what to think about that right now. They may be valid, they may not be. I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a hearsay right now. Um, but if you asked me on Saturday if we would have went in and beat that Cleveland Brown team, even though they're not very good. We had so many starters out. Max Crosby wasn't playing. Devontae Adams wasn't playing. A few of our other studs weren't playing, and the team still showed out and played pretty well and won. Like you did mention, though, the Broncos have been playing a lot better. Their defenses have been playing really good. Um, but I'm just going to lean on the Raiders in this one. The Broncos have not beaten the Raiders in like 4 or 5 years, so I think the Raiders are going to roll with this one. This is purely a gut pick.
Yeah, Antonio Pierce gets that team fired up pretty good. So it should
Yeah,
be a
he
good game. Might be a little ugly, but yeah, I'm rolling Broncos here.
Yeah, he's a player's coach for sure, and the
Yeah.
team loves to play for him. They play hard no matter how good or bad they're playing. So I think they roll into this game, and I'm going to pick the Raiders. All right, so the next game we have on the slate is also Sunday at 3:05 on Fox. It is Cardinals at 49ers, and as it sits right now, San Francisco is a 7.5 point favorite at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the 49ers, especially last week, are going to start getting on a roll here. We know what we can or what they can do when they're fully healthy, whenever they get going. Mike Shanahan is one of the best coaches in all of the NFL. And I think in this game, they'll start to prove why they're one of the best teams in the NFC. I know they didn't get really off to the start that they wanted to, especially with some injuries. But I think Brock Purdy is playing better than most people thought that he would play with this, especially with the banged up weapons that they have. Their defense is starting to click. You've seen last week that they got a defensive touchdown, and that's really what they're going to need to rely on. And the Cardinals just don't look like they have enough firepower on their offense, and their defense just isn't very good either. So I'm going to go with the 49ers here.
Yeah, Logan also picked the 49ers, and I'm going to go with you guys. Like you said, the 49ers are just, hard to beat whenever they're healthy. They still don't have McCaffrey, but like I mentioned earlier, Mason has been playing out of his mind. Really hasn't been a setback at all for them. They got Kittle and Debo back. I think they can start to get Ayuk going like he was last season with some of these weapons back to kind of help the defense see more things and stop more people. I think he can get more involved. So, like you said, I'm going to go with 49ers. I agree with you. Logan agrees with you. The Cardinals, they have some decent players on offense with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. and James Conner, but it seems like their defense has been struggling so much it's been impossible for them guys to overcome. having been down almost every game they've been in. So I'm going to go with 49ers. I think we all agree 49ers are going to win on this game. All right, next game we have is Packers at Rams. This is at 3:25 on Sunday on CBS. And as it sits right now, Green Bay is the 3.5 point favorite on the road in LA. What do we think?
Yeah, I think the Packers will have a big bounce back game here. They got down early to the Vikings last week. They got down, I believe, 28-0 pretty early in that game
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
still almost came back, found a way to come back. I think Matt LaFleur did a really good job at making some halftime adjustments. Um, the way that game started, I think it was just a little bit of growing pains for this team. They're the youngest roster in the NFL. It was their first week back with Jordan Love, and I just don't think that they started the way they wanted to, but they've shown what they can do whenever they're rolling the right way. Unfortunately for the Rams, I think they're just a little bit too banged up. I don't think Stafford and McVay can do it all. So I sucks to say the Rams should have came in this year and had a better season than they're having, but like I said, the injuries are just holding them back. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Packers in this one.
Yeah, I'm surprised Logan went against his favorite team and also picked the Packers, and I'm going to roll with you guys as well too. I'm going to go with the Packers. Um, I think they ran to a very good Minnesota team last week. It was a noon game. Like you said, they got down really early and they almost came back in it. They looked pretty good on offense. Christian Watson did get hurt, but they got Jacobs going. They got Emmanuel Wilson as backup going. Dontavian Wicks looks to be the pickup of the week in fantasy. He looked absolutely amazing, had over 100 yards, and they still got Dobbs too. So, and also Jaden Reed has also been playing very well. So I think the Packers keep it going. They had a little setback last week, but they played a really good team. I'm going to pick them as well. Like you mentioned, the Rams are just very banged up. Kyron Williams and the backup receivers they have and Matt Stafford can't do it all. And they're just not the Rams defense that has been in the past few years like they had with Aaron Donald since he's no longer on the team. So I'm going to go with the Packers and follow along with you guys. All right, the last game of the Sunday slate in the afternoon is Giants at Seahawks. This game is on CBS, and as it sits right now, the Seahawks are a 6.5 point favorite at home. Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think last week on Thursday when the Giants played the Cowboys, I actually don't think the Giants looked too bad at all. Daniel Jones made some pretty good plays. He didn't do too much, didn't turn the ball over, and Malik Neighbors is playing as good as any wide receiver in the NFL right now. So that's always scary to deal with. But I actually think the Seahawks are, in my opinion, one of the bigger surprises in the NFC at least. I think they have one of the best offenses in the NFC. Last week, Geno Smith, I know they lost, but he was 38 of 56, 400 passing yards, one touchdown, one interception. I think they'll bounce back and have a very explosive game here at home. And I think Kenneth Walker will have another week to kind of rest and get healthier. And then whenever he gets going, he's a very explosive running back. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Seahawks here, as I just think that their offense is going to be a little bit too much for the New York Giants.
Yeah, Logan also picked the Seahawks, and I'm going to follow you guys again on this one. I'm going to pick the Seahawks as well. Um, my gut wanted me to go with the Giants, but Malik Neighbors had a concussion last week at the very end of that game. We don't know if he's going to be back. That'd be a huge loss. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL, in my opinion, even though he's only a rookie. The Giants have looked better. They've gotten Singletary going on the rushing attack. Wan'Dale Robinson has looked pretty good in the passing game, and Daniel Jones has looked pretty good. He's kind of looking like the quarterback the Giants wish they had every game when they signed him with that massive contract. But like you said, I think the Seahawks will be too much. They got Ken Walker back. He had 3 touchdowns last night or on Monday. Charbonnet is still a good receiver out of the backfield as well. And then Metcalf and Lockett and JSN are just very good. I mean, I think the Seahawks have one of the better offenses in the league. So I'm going to roll with them and follow you and Logan and pick the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think Seahawks first year head coach is doing an outstanding job over there in Seattle.
I agree. I think both defenses have been playing okay. The Giants have not been playing the best, and the Seahawks have been playing decent. They've just played a really good Lions team on Monday night, and they played with them close. I mean, they did let up some explosive plays, but They've been playing pretty good. I know the first 3 weeks they played a little lackluster teams, but they did what they did and won. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna roll the Seahawks along with you guys. All right, our last game on Sunday is on NBC, obviously at 7:20. It's Cowboys at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and as it sits right now, Pittsburgh is a 2.5 point favorite at home.
Yeah, and this one, I thought it was kind of a toss-up who to pick here. I personally think the Cowboys are a better overall team, but the Cowboys never, in the last recent years at least, have never really played that well on the road. And they've already started the season off slower than I think most people thought they were going to. If the Cowboys wanted to win this game, I think they were going to have to put a lot of pressure on Justin Fields and put him in uncomfortable positions, but they just lost Micah Parsons, so I think that's going to be a lot harder for the Cowboys to do in this one. I think the Steelers' defense is going to be a little bit too much for the Cowboys to handle. I think they're going to feed off the home crowd energy. And I think the Steelers could win an ugly game at home. And I think it's going to be a very scary start for Cowboys fans and Mike McCarthy. I think the Steelers are going to pull this one off.
Yeah, Logan agrees with you. He's going with the Steelers, but I'm actually going to go with the Cowboys in this one. They looked better last week against New York, or in New York. I don't think it's as good as the Steelers, but they did lose Micah Parsons, like you said, and that hurts the defense. But I just think they have more weapons. I think they get CeeDee Lamb going. They got a pretty good rushing attack with Dowdle and Zeke filling in the back end. Brandon Cooks isn't bad. They got Ferguson back and getting him involved on the tight end position. Tolbert's been catching some passes. And Dak's been playing pretty good all season. It's just a matter, I think, defense in this game. Um, the only reason I'm picking the Cowboys is the Steelers struggled against a backup quarterback in Indianapolis Colts last week. Um, the only reason they were in that game is because Justin Fields was looking like he was 2 years ago on the Bears, running all over the field, using his legs. And I think the Cowboys will bottle him up. I think this will be a decent game, but my gut tells me to go with the Cowboys. That might look like a horrible pick come next week's podcast, but we will see. We them boys. I'm gonna roll with the Cowboys on Sunday night. All right, our last game of the week is on Monday. We only have one this week. Um, I don't know how you feel about the two games on Monday night, but I don't really like it. I like just to watch the one game on the prime times on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. So we only get one this week, and it's Saints at Kansas City Chiefs on ESPN. As it sits right now, Kansas City is a 5 point favorite.
Yeah, I kind of like the one primetime games as well. Um, but I know it's kind of tough to do, especially whenever all the teams playing. But I think now that we got the buys
Hmm.
starting to roll around, we're gonna start just having the one primetime games going. On this one, I actually think I'm going to pick a big upset here and go with the New Orleans Saints, Who Dat Nation. And I think that this is all partly due to the Chiefs losing their best playmaker on offense. They just lost Rashi Rice for the entire season, and they already really didn't look as very as efficient and explosive an offense with him. I think losing their best best explosive playmaker is going to take a big toll on their offense. Travis Kelce ain't near as what he used to be, and then Xavier Worthy is a rookie that is I don't know maybe a buck 175 soaking wet. So one big hit and he's out of there too. And I think the Saints are going to come out, be very fiery. They just lost a tough divisional game to the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to come out, I think, be very explosive. I could see them having a big play to Rashid Shaheed early in the game. And I think without Rashi Rice, that it might be a little bit just too much for the Kansas City Chiefs to overcome. I think the Saints are going to come out and show that their first couple weeks they're not just a fluke and that they're a legit team in the NFC. So I'm going with the upset in the New Orleans Saints in this game.
Makes sense. Logan actually went against you and picked the Chiefs, but I'm going to follow you and pick the Saints.
Oh yeah, who dat?
It's not because of my hatred for the Chiefs, but I really do think losing Rasheed Rice indefinitely will be a big loss for them. He was their only major weapon on offense. They have not looked very good. They've just been scraping by to a 4-0 record, leaning on that amazing defense to keep them in games. Like you said, Kelsey has been playing well. Even Mahomes has not been playing very good. Um, they did get Kareem Hunt back, signed him on free agent. They got him some touches last week and he looked pretty good, but they just have not been that Kansas City Chiefs offense that we're used to seeing. Like you said, the Saints lost a tough game last week to the Falcons on the road, but they've been playing a lot better than the Chiefs, and I think that continues this game. The only reason I think the Chiefs possibly could win is Arrowhead is one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. It is extremely loud. The fans are great there, and they love their Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm going to roll with the Saints. Olave, Shaheed, Kamara's been playing really well, and Derek Carr has been playing, pretty good this season. He hasn't made the mistakes like he has in the past. Um, and I think the Saints pull up a big win here on Monday night. Like I mentioned earlier, the Chiefs have just been kind of scraping by at 4-0. They haven't dominated any games, and they've all been close. So they're bound to lose up and slip one of these games, and I think this is probably the one that they might slip up on. So I'm going to go with New Orleans.
I like it. 5-point underdogs, and we're both going
Yeah.
with them. I like it.
All right, that wraps up our game five previews for the games for this coming week. Our last segment is our survivor picks for the week. If anybody knows Survivor, you can't pick the same team at any point in the season. So if any team you pick earlier, they're locked and you can't pick them for the rest of the season. So our Survivor picks for this week are new teams we think are going to win. If they win and we win this week, we cannot pick them the next week. So I'm going to start off with Logan since he's not here with us tonight. He picked Washington Commanders. I think that's a pretty good pick. They looked really good the past couple of weeks. They have a relatively who do they play again this week? They play the Browns.
Browns.
The Browns are not playing very well, so that's a good pick. It is a little risky. I mean, the NFL this season has been crazy with big favorites losing, but I do think that's a relatively safe bet. Um, Now, as far as me and Austin are going, we're going with the same team again like we did last week, and we're picking the Seahawks.
Yes, sir.
Like we mentioned in that game, I think the Seahawks just have too many weapons to overcome, or too many weapons for the Giants to overcome with the three-headed wide receiver attack, and then now having a healthy backfield with Ken Walker and Charbonnet, and Geno's been playing pretty good. He's a top 10 fantasy quarterback right now. He's looking like the quarterback that burst onto the scene again after being, back up for a long time a few years ago. So um, we're going with the Seahawks. Austin, you have anything more to add to the Seahawks pick?
Yeah, it's always scary picking against Malik Neighbors. If he plays this week,
Yeah, he does
like
have concussion, so we'll see if he'll play.
yeah, like we were saying earlier, he looks like one of the best NFL our wide receivers in the NFL, even though he's just a rookie. I mean, he looks insane. If he doesn't play, I'm very, very confident in this pick. But even if he does play, I just think the Seahawks are going to have too much on the offensive side of the ball for the Giants to keep up with.
Yeah, I agree. We'll definitely see. We've had a good stretch of survivor picks and game picks as well in the past few weeks. So we'll see if we can keep the ball rolling. And we'll see how this week five slate goes. There's some pretty good games. There's also a few duds, but you never know. They might end up being good games as well. We'll just have to find out. Um, that being said, that ends our NFL show for week five. We went over week four and then previewed the games coming up this week. I just want to thank everybody for listening. Our podcast has been doing really well. Keep sharing it, keep liking, keep subscribing, and ask any questions you want, and we'll answer them on the show. I want to thank everybody for watching. Austin, you have anything to say?
Nope, just appreciate everyone watching. Like you said, just keep subscribe, sharing, and keep dropping comments. Like I said last week, also, if you agree with something or disagree with it, maybe we'll comment back at you or speak on it in the next upcoming segment.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's it for Deep Threat Sports Network's Week 5 NFL podcast. Like I said, I want to thank you, Bryant, Austin, Logan, signing off. Peace.